So, if you don't know me and you've never joined me before, I am Piper Harris with Poema Women's Success Coaching. And this is my Caring Through COVID video series. I really committed to bringing videos to you every single day of the week during this crisis because I think that we are all absolutely just being pummeled with bad news, aren't we? It's the negativity that's in the media because of what we're surrounded with. And so, with Caring Through COVID, not only this video series, and I'm hoping to give you tips and tools that you can add to your personal and professional life, but I'm also doing a Caring Through COVID Lunch and Learn series. Excuse me. We have one tomorrow. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a little bit. But this series really is, again, about giving us a break from everything that is on the news and what we're seeing, and just to give you something to apply to your life, and have a better life. So, if you didn't say yesterday's video, I am talking about your personal paradigm shift. It's really interesting during this crisis. I have been seeing a paradigm shift with our small businesses, with our large corporations, and with a lot of individuals. I think one of the big shifts that we're going to see post COVID, and I believe we're going to get there, is that we can do remote work. And hopefully, our organizations and our leaders are going to be more open to that flexibility in working from home, especially for those working parents. I think that there's going to be a major paradigm shift, and I said this yesterday to you all, in how we greet one another. This is something that my husband and I have discussed a lot in the coming day, or in the last few days. And I'm a hugger, but I have to tell you, there may be an enormous shift for myself in how I'm going to express that. So, something that I'm just kind of working through. Now, before we move into paradigm shift, this term was originally created about 50 years ago by a scientist named Thomas Kuhn, and it's really based on scientific theory. So he would hate the fact that I'm using this term of his in the way that I am, because it was really based on scientific theory of this scientific process didn't work, and this is how we're going to explain it. There was a paradigm shift within this experiment, and this is what took place. Well, this term has been applied to more social sciences, human sciences like psychology, and so it has really developed into this term of, when you and I go through an event, when we go through something, whether it's painful, whether it's exciting, whatever it is, a major event that creates a shift in who you see yourself as. And as I talked yesterday, I talked about my own personal paradigm shift that's taken place in the last 361 days. So, as I was saying yesterday, I am celebrating my birthday this week on Friday. Now, not my personal birthday, but like many women that I know, I am taking a whole week to celebrate it. And that is on Friday. I have 365 days, excuse me, as my hair is in my mouth. I have 365 days as a women's success coach. And during this past 361 days, I have gone through a massive paradigm shift, and it was brought about by a crisis. And the reason I'm talking to you about this is that I really firmly believe that we have the opportunity in the middle of this coronavirus, this pandemic, to find your purpose, to shift yourself into something new. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to, break world records and do all these things at home. In fact, most people right now are still in the trenches of the fear, of the grief, that you're feeling. I talked about that yesterday. And so I'm not saying that your paradigm shift is going to happen anytime soon. In fact, it did not happen that quickly for me. But my hope in sharing these things with you is that you're going to be able my family? How am I going to keep my business going? How am I going to go for my goals and my dreams if I can't figure this out? So sorry about that. It looks like my internet is not stable. So I'm hoping by sharing these things about my own personal journey, my own paradigm shift that's taken place in the last 361 days, that it's going to help you identify those steps, just those moments that are clue you into you have a choice. There's those things that get your attention. You have a choice right now to define your purpose, or what I call your poema. I believe all of us were given gifts, given dreams, given goals, and that sometimes we have to really look closely to see that workmanship within us and go towards them. So today we're going to dig in a little bit more into identifying those nudges that we have to choose either to shift toward or just stay where we're at. Okay. So when I was in the midst of my own crisis, my paradigm shift happened in the middle of crisis. There were some predominant pain points that I felt. Okay. So number one was burnout. Number two was strained relationships, both personally and professionally. And the third one, which was a big one, was I started questioning, did my professed beliefs line up with my profession? Okay. So number one, the burnout. When I started with this company, I was a contract worker. I came in as a coach, and I jumped all in. They were a startup. It was amazing. And I really loved it. I loved everything I was doing. And then I was asked to be brought on to work on their standard operating procedures and then coach the coaches. And it was making my heart sing. I loved it. I was working in excess of 60 hours a week. I was maintaining a rigid workout schedule, and I was still trying to be wife and mom. So that's when something occurred to me. I would say the first niggling of it was maybe at 120 days, maybe 4 months in, but I set it aside, and I'll tell you why. So as I'm telling you my story, I want you to think about yourself. So I felt the first niggling of this burnout, this exhaustion about 4 months in. So then the second thing that really started nudging me towards, Piper, you have a choice. You can sit where you're at and you can and let this thing implode and have a crisis, or you can shift towards this paradigm. And that's the thing. When we're having those personal paradigm shifts, it's hard sometimes to identify that it's taking place. And what I can say is, if you can hone in on recognizing these pain points and these signs before the crisis, all the better. So the second thing that happened was I started to recognize the strain at home, especially with my husband and I. We were just arguing a lot. He was like, come on, you're working insane hours, all of those husband-wife kind of conversations. But the other thing that I was feeling was immense guilt. I loved what I was doing. But I started having a lot of guilt about my family, about not being with my family like I should be. So here's the thing. I had burnout. I was feeling burnout. I was exhausted with the hours I was putting in. I was recognizing the strain at home. And then eventually I started recognizing the strain at the organization within the team that I was coaching. But here's the thing. It felt really good. It felt really good to be told I was the best. It felt really good to be sought out as the premier coach and also the coach of coaches. It felt really good to be able to go into a startup and show them processes to ensure that they were functioning at the highest level possible. It felt so good to be the one that broke us into the Southeast television market. It felt good. I was on fire. My ego was completely in play. So even though I was feeling the burnout, and even though I was feeling that strain with my relationships, my ego was so basking in all of its glory. I was basking in all of its glory, that I didn't switch what I was seeing. I didn't clue into these nudges, and I didn't pay attention to the shift that was, Piper, you're going toward a crisis if you don't shift toward a change. Does that make sense? So finally, really what clued me in, the final nudge that I was on the brink of crisis or a shift, I had a choice, was when I really started questioning what I was doing. Did what I professed as my beliefs line up with my professions? Did my profession of being a Christ follower, of following Jesus Christ, did that line up with what I was doing? Did my belief of I should place myself below all others, I should serve others, did my belief of diligently working in integrity and ethic, honorability in all that I do? Was that lining up with the profession I was choosing? And when that final nudge started really coming to the forefront of my mind, it wasn't just a niggling in my mind anymore. It was very loud. That's when I knew something's coming. That's when I knew something was coming. It was very apparent to me that my beliefs were not in alignment. My professed beliefs were not in alignment with my profession. I was exhausted. I was depressed. I was angry. So let me ask you, consider where you were pre-COVID-19, okay? Ask yourself, was I feeling burned out? Was I not so in love what I was doing as a profession? Did you feel strain within your relationships, personally or professionally? And in the back of your mind, did you have those niggling notions that you were not in alignment with your professed beliefs and your profession? These three things are the first indication to me that I was on the brink of a paradigm shift or a crisis. So tomorrow we're going to pick this up. Today, I really want you to ask yourself those questions to help you identify your ability to shift into a paradigm. As I've been saying, in the middle of this crisis, we have the opportunity to define our purpose rather than focus a misplaced significance on something else, like I did, like a profession. Okay. And it could be, it doesn't have to be a profession, but it could be a label that you've given yourself. What I'm saying with this paradigm shift, I think that I'm seeing a lot of people go through right now, and so much pain. And I do understand I did not get through this in, 6 weeks time. This took me 361 days. I had put my misplaced significance on something else other than defining my personal purpose, my poema. And the whole point of us discussing this paradigm shift, being able to identify these indicators that you could be going toward a crisis or a paradigm shift, it's your choice, is that we've got to define your personal purpose, your beliefs, your poema. So today, ask yourself those questions. Do I still love this job or this label or what I do? Why or why not? And I'm telling you, journal this. Spend some time today. Really focus on these questions. Number 2, is there a strain in my relationships personally and professionally? Why? Listen, this is going to be about you being honest with yourself. You need to be so honest with yourself. If there's strain in your relationships, common denominator is you. What behavior is leading to this strain? Take responsibility for where you need to do it. I see a lot of us, and I did the same thing. I put the responsibility on someone else. Take responsibility for yourself. Number 3, are my professed beliefs in alignment with my profession or the label that you've given yourself? So ask yourself those 3 questions today. These are the 3 pain point indicators of being on the brink of crisis or on the brink of a paradigm shift. So thanks so much for joining me today. Are you on the brink of a paradigm shift? I believe that we can use this crisis. We can use this crisis to find our purpose. And I hope that you're going to continue on with this series with me this week. I'm so excited that we're talking about this and I'm bringing along in the celebration. Friday is my birthday. I hope that you'll join me. I'll be live on Facebook at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I mean, cocktails, party hats, anything. Come, show up, celebrate 365 days of a paradigm shift, of finding a purpose so deeply cemented in who I am that not even COVID is going to take it away from me. And remember, tomorrow is my Lunch and Learn series. This is tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You do need to register for that. I'm more than happy to drop the link for you all. Tomorrow, I have a mental health counselor and a gentle sleep expert coming on. Her name is Julie Kennedy. She's amazing. She helped my family when we transitioned in our own home and our son was having sleep disruptions. but she's going to help us sleep well and be well. So don't forget to join us. She's an expert. So come ask your questions, learn, take a break from the news, have some fun. And as always, if you have any questions about myself, about Poema Women's Success Coaching, please head on over to piperharris.net. Also, I have created a lot of complimentary resources for you during this COVID pandemic. Head on over to piperharris.net/COVID for all of those different resources. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really cannot wait to continue this series with you. Are you on the brink of a paradigm shift? I think a lot of us are. I'll talk to you all again coming soon.